So it is Monday, June 5th, 2023, 7:30 p.m. and I call this meeting of the Needham Design Review Board to order. I'm the board chair, Mark Glusing, and I would like to confirm that members and guests, applicants are present and can all be heard. Members, when I call your name, please respond. Bob Dermody.
Here.
Steve Dornbush.
Here.
Susan Opton.
Here. Here.
Okay, thank you. Also attending are town staff, Elisa Lichman. Applicants, if you could please respond that you hear us. So special permit for 920 Highland Avenue, Trader Joe's.
I am here. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes, thanks, Heather.
Thank you.
We're continuing a special permit review for 1063 Highland Ave, Needham Bank. I see a couple of people here.
I can hear you, Karen Marriott.
It's Great Plain Ave.
Oh, yeah, that typo, sorry. Great Plain Ave. And 1203 Highland Ave, Duncan.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bill.
Yep.
Welcome to this open meeting of the Needham Design Review Board, which is being conducted remotely, consistent with state orders originally effective March 12th, 2020. The order allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. For this meeting, the Needham Design Review Board is convening by Zoom app as posted on the town's website on the Design Review Board page, identifying how the public may join. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. There are special permit applications on the agenda, so public input will be solicited. Right, Lisa? Going to help me with that? Okay. All supporting materials have been provided. Members of this board are available on the town's website. Public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda unless the chair notes otherwise. Please note this meeting is being recorded. Please be aware that other people may be able to see you, and take care not to screen share your computer unless the chair approves. Please remember to mute your phone or computer when you're not speaking. The procedures for tonight's meeting are I will introduce each applicant on the agenda. After they conclude their remarks, I will take comments or questions from the Design Review Board members. After discussion, each vote will be by roll call vote. The building department requires electronic submission of building permit applications. Copy of your application stamped and noted for the type of approval that you receive will be emailed to you by the DRB support staff. That can be attached to your building permit application. So we'll move now to the first item on the agenda. There's a public notice that Trader Joe's located at 920 Highland Ave has made application to the Design Review Board for a special permit pursuant to the sign bylaw section 5.5.3.1, the number of signs, and any other applicable sections of the bylaw. So Heather, why don't you go ahead and take us through?
Sure. Nice to see everybody again. Good evening. And Elisa, thank you so much for your help with this. This got a little confusing. When we did apply for design review, we were notified by the building commissioner that there is a special permit already in place for the 3 signs on this building, I believe. And since we proposed to replace them at larger sizes, we needed to reapply for a special permit. It was not just design review approval since they weren't the same sizes. So currently there are 3 signs on the building. As I understand it, Trader Joe's is doing a store-wide sign upgrade. So there's several sites that the signs are being replaced, and they're just updating their font a little bit at all of their local sites. So the store is located on Highland Avenue, but it looks like the main entrance is on the parking lot side, which is not on the street. So there is one sign at the main entrance, and the existing sign is 24 square foot. They're channel letters, and Trader Joe's proposes to replace those at 31 square feet. So that is their main entrance. And then the second sign on sign B, that faces Highland Avenue, and I believe there is no entrance on that side, but they'd like to replace that sign from 11 square foot to 31 square foot. And that would be a red channel letter on a backer. They're proposing like a white backer. I suspect because there's some issues installing the letters flush against the building there. So they did propose that sign on a backer. And the third sign is on the corner side elevation where I believe there is an entrance. And they're proposing to increase that from 8 square feet to 23 square foot. Also on a backer. And the awning there will just stay as is. So that's basically what they'd like to do. And I think the special permit is for the number of signs, because I believe they'd only be allowed 2 signs at that location. But I could be
Right,
wrong.
they have a sign on Highland Avenue, and then you can have a second sign facing a parking lot internally. On this particular complex, the rule, the strict interpretation of the bylaws that sign on the parking lot side needs to be a little bit smaller and relate mostly to the entrance, but we've recognized that this is more of a strip mall building, and that parking lot side is really a main entrance. So we've been a little flexible on that issue with other applicants as well, and Trader Joe's in the beginning. So I would say your by right signs are the Highland Ave and the Trader Joe's, and the special permit is for that angled entrance sign. I think
Okay.
that's what was done
Right.
historically.
That helps.
Okay. So then the main thing, is the font changing at all, or simply the size?
No, the font is different.
Okay,
So if you look at it, it's a little taller. It's 2 inches taller, and it's a little more modern looking. It's a little narrower, but it is a different font.
okay. And the sign on the parking lot side, those will be individually mounted letters?
Yes,
Okay,
the other 2 would be on the backers.
okay, those other 2 signs are currently on raceways, just like 5 or 6 inch raceways.
Yeah, it appears that way.
It's a
Yeah,
little bit bigger approach.
Yeah.
Right, so I will start with the board. Steve, do you want questions or comments on, why don't you just go through them all if you have anything to say about each one?
No questions on the parking lot. I think it reads a lot easier. The only question I have, and I don't know what the answer is, but you can tell me, size-wise, I meant to drive by there actually. And is it out of scale with any other signage on the street there? It looks so much bigger than the previous one. The sign itself, I have no issues with. I think the white background helps it. The font, the letter spacing is a little more open, so I think it's good. But it's just it was the size. If there's any question with guidelines that we have.
Okay, well, they didn't include elevations of the whole building, which we asked for in these cases. But we don't always get that. But I did look at it, and Bob often does a Google map view. They are a long way from any other signs down there. The next sign is
Okay.
at CVS.
Okay,
But I believe the CVS signs are about 14 inches. We've tried to keep the scale along that side around 12 to 14 inches, because it's not a high speed driving area. So, and there isn't a lot of visual competition signage wise. There's just this is the only wall mounted signs are the CVS. The other one's on an awning, and other one's kind of mounted on the flat wall. So there's not other signage of this type and scale on the building.
if it's in scale, I have no other questions. I think it works better. So I think it looks good.
Okay, Bob.
Yes, thanks. Hang on, I'm scrolling around. I am looking at the Google Maps view because there's a bank right next door, the Citizens Bank. All right, so let's start with A, which is the parking lot side. Yeah, I agree. That looks clearer. The font, while different, is not super different, but it does look a little thinner, which I think helps read. So that one I think is okay. B is the one on Highland Ave. Yeah, it is significantly bigger from 11 to 31 square feet. And also the backer and the letter heights appear to be the same. So I don't know, do we want the letters to be a little smaller and the backer stay the same, so there's some negative space above the T and the R, or is that something you were trying to not do? I'd like to get my colleagues' opinions on that as well. The letters look sort of cut off, if you will, at the top and bottom of the backer. I don't know how my colleagues feel, and I don't know if Heather has any thoughts on that.
We're open to discussion on all the signage, so
Yeah.
they're not.
Okay.
I was
So-
not told that it's in stone, so.
Great. All right. Thank you. That's helpful. So I would suggest on the Highland Ave side sign that the letters be a little smaller. Because I think it would look better. And what kind of white, and is the white illuminated at all?
Oh, the white is a non-illuminated backer, so that would be
Okay.
aluminum.
Okay. Aluminum colored?
Let me just look
Painted.
here.
It's,
'Cause-
I believe it's white paint. I mean,
Yeah, just painted white, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that might be a little bright there. I don't know. That's minor, I think, at this point, especially since it's not illuminated.
Yeah.
So those are my comments there. And then the last
they would-
one,
I'm sorry, I would think they were trying to get a little contrast there since the brick background and their letters are red,
letters are
so.
the same color.
yeah, even off-white will be a contrast, obviously. And something that won't show dirt. All right, so that's that sign. And last one, the C on the diagonal. Last time I was there, I don't think that's an entrance anymore.
Oh, okay. Like I
And-
said, I'm sorry, I didn't go by it, so.
That's okay. I think it used to be, but I think COVID might have changed that, and I don't think they've ever reopened it as an entrance.
Okay,
So I would question the need for a sign over a door that's not an entrance, when there's another sign, just down the corner a little.
That's probably at least an emergency exit, Bob, because there is only one other.
Right. Oh,
entrance
yeah.
to that building.
But,
yeah,
you don't
I
need
don't
the
know that
sign when
it's
you're
open.
exiting.
Yeah,
And then if it were to stay, I'd like to discuss as a board whether we think they even need it. And then secondly, if we do, okay, I think it should be much smaller.
okay.
That's what I got for now. Thanks.
thank you.
Do
Do you think maybe they use it for visibility if you're coming down Highland or turning from the side street? That you see it at
Probably.
the
yeah.
corner, since the other one's parallel to Highland Ave and wouldn't be visible if you were coming down?
Yeah, yes, definitely because of the angle. But then if we go in the direction of having it, okay, I could be convinced, but I would then make the suggestion that it be smaller.
Okay. Steve, I'm sorry, Susan.
I agree with everything everybody said. I don't have any additional comments.
Okay. Elisa thinks the door is being used, so. That's
Oh,
good.
okay. Thanks, Elisa.
Okay. I guess I'm comfortable. I think in relation to the other signage on the parking lot side, this is going to be a little bigger, but again, the facade there is quite long and they're spaced out well, and it's still within the bylaw for the size, and it fits on that sort of fascia panel well. So I think I'm okay with that. I have concerns on the Highland Avenue one, both reflecting Bob's concerns. I think to triple the size seems like a lot, but again, the square footage is under the requirement. But if they were to enlarge the white background sign, which I think they should do, so that there's some negative space around it, then in the way we measure the panel, like we would measure a flat panel for a sign, then it becomes too big. So I think if we drop the letter size some on that it would be more workable. I share Bob's concern with the white background, but as you pointed out, Heather, when you look at the other one, it does get pretty lost on the red brick color with that red sign. So I'm willing to let it go here, especially since it's not illuminated. If it was illuminated, we'd be talking about sort of filming it down for limiting the brightness, but it's mostly going to be a daytime issue here, which is less of a concern. And then the corner one, I agree. that one, I'm not comfortable jumping that up that big.
Okay.
It's overpowering the amount of space that it's sitting in. The first one was rather, was very small. But I think, they're pushing right up to the limits on the corners, and they want to do it on the backer panel again, correct?
Correct, correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know what the board thinks, but let's look at the Highland Avenue sign. If that were reduced to, it's at 18 inches, say to 14, that would be in keeping letter size with the other elements. And then it gives a couple inches of space around the top and bottom.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is that the parking lot elevation, that seems to be okay with everyone.
Yes,
The sign A. And then on Highland Ave, it looks like they're proposing the lettering at 21 inches.
yes.
So-
Oh, I'm sorry, 21. Yes.
Yep, so if we were to reduce that to 14 inches, is that what you're saying?
I did bad math, sorry. So I want to get 4 inches out of the thing. So if we went
Okay.
to say 16 inches.
So we reduce to
So-
16 inches and revise it appropriately so that there's some negative space up below and above.
Yeah, you leave the panel the same size. I want to get
Leave the
the
panel,
boards, get the other members' thoughts on that.
Okay,
but-
yeah,
I think
that
that
is-
works, Mark. If the letter height is 16, leave the panel as proposed at 21. That gives you a couple inches above and below.
Okay.
How about left to right, Mark, with the backer?
Well, that's, if they shrink the height, that's going to reduce the length a little.
All
But
right,
yeah,
good.
yeah.
Yep.
So I think that'll resolve itself.
okay.
I concur. A little breathing space around the letters will help. I concur.
And then, then the corner entrance sign, currently at 18.
Correct, yeah.
I hate to have signs that close together, different sizes, and we learned that on the Coldwell Banker at the corner of Chapel and May Street years ago.
Mhm.
But 16 is only a little bit smaller there, so.
How about we drop that one because that wall is so shorter too, Mark, and that space which the sign fits. I think, if they have the sign there, that's going to help them. But I think smaller letters will still work.
Okay. So we want to go to, say, 13 or 14, 12? It's currently 10, which is, you can see how that sits in there.
Yeah, so if it was
Okay.
10 and they're proposing 18, go to 14, halfway in the middle.
Okay. But I think that'll still be pretty visible.
I think it will be too.
And then they can leave the panel at 18.
Okay. Perfect.
Is that meet with the boards?
We will get the negatives, if we do that dimension that we just talked about for that corner sign, we'll get the dimension or the negative space, but that panel will still be big in that space, I think,
Yeah, I just think it'll look better if it's not lettered out to the edges.
I agree. If we went, let's just talk it through. So we're currently maybe 14-inch letter. If we did a 12-inch letter, which is still bigger than 10, that's there with a
Yeah.
thinner font, and made the sign 10, 12, 14, the backer 14. I think it'd fit in that space better.
Okay, you want to shrink the length from 8.6, from 8.5 to, I don't know.
I
what
guess
the-
just proportionally, as you said with the other one, sort of do the vertical, get that set, and then whatever that space, so the same amount of space above and below the letters is on the left and right. Does that make sense, Heather?
Yes, yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll ask for the same clearance on the ends as we have on the top and bottom.
Yes.
So you're saying a 12-inch letter
Yeah,
with about an approximate 14-inch background?
no, 16.
16, okay.
So 2 inches above and 2 inches below.
Yeah.
Background 16, and then it will shrink
Right.
widthwise a little bit, yeah.
And I think it'll sit in that space.
Yeah.
It's still going to be bigger than what's there, but it won't, I think it'll work in the space better.
I agree.
Good.
I think you're always so helpful. I do.
Write that down, Elisa.
Yeah, write it in the minutes, so it's on record.
Thank you, Heather.
Okay, any other comments, Susan or Bob? Or Steve, sorry?
No.
Okay,
No, I have nothing to add.
okay, so I'll go through these actually one at a time. So that we can keep our record. So I would take a motion to approve the parking lot, a sign on the parking lot side of the building as submitted.
So moved.
Second,
Okay, and we come to the vote. Bob Dermody,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes,
Susan,
yes,
and the chair approves. On the Highland Avenue sign, I would take a motion to approve it with the conditions that the letters be reduced to 16 inches high, that the 21-inch high panel remain, and the length of the lettering be reduced proportionally.
So moved.
second,
Okay, we come to the vote. Bob,
Yes.
Steve,
yes,
Susan,
yes,
and the chair approves. Now we come to the sign at the door. This is for a special permit. I would take a motion to approve the special permit with the conditions that the letters be reduced to 12 inches high and the panel be reduced to 16 inches high, and that there be 2 inches of exposure, of panel exposure on each end of the sign.
So moved.
second,
Okay, then we vote. Bob,
Yes.
Steve,
yes.
Susan,
yes.
and the chair approves. Okay,
All right.
thanks, Heather.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. Thank
Thanks,
you. Nice to
Heather.
see you all. Hi, Bill.
The next item is the continued special permit review for the Needham Bank, 1063 Great Plain Ave. We have approved several signs on this, on the ATM building. Actually, it has a person teller in it as well. And the last item is for a sign that we could never figure out what to call. So a sign cabinet where they would have changeable promotional signage. And they did submit some samples of what they want to do. So do you want to go ahead and dive in?
Sure. Rich Batten from Batten Brothers Signs, representing Needham Bank. We're requesting as a sign cabinet where we can, as you mentioned, change the media in it depending on the season, promotions, public interest announcements. It's primarily viewed from our parking lot and also from the train station. I don't believe you really can even see it from the streets. It's primarily for customers or potential customers that are in one of those two venues. The media that we've submitted, one is a holiday message that we might put in. One's a promotional for free checking ad. Another one for a specific rate. The cabinet itself is quite low profile. It's only 4 inches deep, and the proportions of it are similar to other signs that are in the area. That's about it. It's about the sizes are the visual opening, that's the media area that you actually see is 32.5 inches by 58 inches.
Okay, just a couple quick questions. There is a sort of a recess in that masonry wall, correct? For this to sit into?
There will not be.
No, there will not be. Okay,
There was originally planned to be one. However, we eliminated that just because we weren't sure exactly what size would be approved or what the format would be. So we changed the construction detail on that.
okay, thanks. So it's a 4-inch deep cabinet. It is illuminated, correct?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so Bob, do you want to start?
Is it intended to be illuminated 24/7?
No, it would be just I would
Or
say
let
that,
me rephrase the question. Will it be visible 24/7, whether it's illuminated or not?
I mean, yes, but yes, it's not a television screen or that sort of thing where they would shut it off and it would be a black screen. It's not a digital screen. It's a printed media that you would be able to see 24/7. I mean, I think the preference of the bank would be that it would shut off when the whatever time in the evening the other signs would be shut off.
Okay, thank you. And how does the media get changed?
It's actually physically changed. So there's a hinged. There are two barrel locks in the bottom, and they're hinged with a pneumatic like lift assist. So the clear panel would hinge open, and then you'd be able to access the media graphic, remove the media graphic, insert the new one, and close the cabinet again.
Okay, thank you. A question I might have started with, though, for Mark and my colleagues is this type of sign spoken to in our bylaws? This is the first time I've encountered something like this.
Yeah, that's why it's a special permit. It is not really covered.
Um,
Basically, it's not an allowed use. If they wanted to put elements like these promotional posters in a window, they're allowed to do something that's 25% of the window
Right.
on a temporary basis. We really don't, we haven't chased sort of people to enforce that to any nth degree, but that we really don't have people that violate it. But as far as a permanent illuminated promotional advertising box, that, there's nothing in the bylaw. To me, it's a little similar to, I'm not sure if you were on the board yet, Bob, but we've had a couple applications for the screens, the television screens that change the ads. One was a kitchen cabinet place on the other side of 128. And their proposal was to have it rotate every 15 or 20 minutes, so it wasn't blinking, but it's a high level. This is going to be, obviously these will be in for, I assume, a few weeks at a time.
I would think so.
Yeah, I'm still thinking about it. I'm not sure because it's new to me. So thanks for answering these questions, everybody. So I'll pass for now and maybe come back to me, please.
Okay. Susan? You're still muted, Susan.
Couldn't hear you.
I don't have anything more to add to that. I question it as well as advertising, but I'll defer to my colleagues.
Well, I mean, it's important to get your sense of that, so I appreciate that.
I don't necessarily know what the bylaws are about advertising. I thought that wasn't something we were promoting.
It's not typically, that's why they're asking a special permit. This is a more unusual situation than some of the other approaches people have taken. So because it's on that building facing that parking lot, it's less sort of public facing, but that's the only difference. Steve?
I sort of agree with my colleagues about not knowing how to approach it. I think I'd be more concerned if this was on the street and more visible. But if I'm correct where it is, I understand where it is. It's kind of off to the side and with just the drive-through, people would see it, or just people walking down that, I won't call an alley, but whatever. So it's not really that visible to that many people. Am I correct in that assumption?
Yes.
Yeah. So I think I'd be more concerned if it was somewhere else, not knowing, but I guess I would go with whatever conditions we apply, I would go along with it.
Okay,
Mark, this is Scott Drew Grouch with Needham Bank. Can I just make a comment here on that?
sure.
I mean, first of all, I mean, you guys know it's the third time we're back because this project that we're doing, it's a high profile project for us. So obviously it's important to us and we want to get it right. And obviously you guys have been, we appreciate the town's, your careful review of this. So it is unique in a sense, but I know there's certain parameters and there's other maybe samples that we've seen in the town that we're trying to come close to so we can satisfy the bylaw, but still hopefully accomplish what we're trying to do is, this location for us, since COVID has been a key, add to services for our customers. And we obviously want to pick up more customers. So, it's important to us to try to get this to where, obviously we satisfy the bylaw, but we're coming, close to what you folks are guiding us. And I mean, we do have some samples tonight that maybe we can talk through if we could go through that. I know Karen's here. Maybe we can set up a couple examples to talk through if you're okay with that.
Sure, I think it was pretty obvious from the samples that Batten Brothers included, sort of what the approach is. It's kind of what we expected, or at least what I expected. But yeah, if you want to talk a little more, I'm going to take 1 second and see there. I see that there are more participants than faces. So I just wanted to check if anybody is asking to comment public. Okay, thanks. Okay, so Scott, if you want to go through something, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, Karen, you want to bring those up?
Sure. I'm not sure how to share my screen. Am I permitted to share my screen?
Yeah, go ahead.
Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay. So we took a look around and, I think you're right. People are putting a lot of different things in the windows. And in some ways we see this frame with the glass as like a window, it's just an area that we're filling. We've got B of A with 34-inch by 35 signs in their big windows. They look beautiful. Eastern Bank now open sign, and they've got a product sign on the other side. I think that was 49 by 93. And then they've got the standard 22 by 28 posters. And we're bringing this forward just to kind of show how other people are using some of their space and, hoping that we can do this limited amount of advertising in an area that isn't seen from the road, that really is facing that train station and the people in our drive up. This was interesting. This actually PEX is a rotating sign. And probably don't need to go on. I think this is the only one that was close, but this might be a nonprofit kind of sign. That's over by.
That's done by, that's actually the town. That's the Needham
Gotcha.
Revitalization Trust Fund.
Got it.
But we do review when they change that sign out, we do see them, so.
Gotcha.
But we don't want to have that. Yeah, those other signs, not all of those are legal. So, I mean, but having the building inspector out trying to enforce every poster that goes up, that's, 5% too large for the window panel it's in, it just proved to be too unwieldy. So we do talk with people when they start doing those things about the size limits and trying to keep them all in thing, but as I said
And
earlier,
we
it's
were-
not something we do super strict about, which is why, we didn't just say no to this.
Mhm.
And we respect where you're coming from. And we're not trying to get anyone in trouble. We're just showing a kind of common use among.
Oh, I understand. Yeah, that's what the industry standard is. Yeah, we see that.
Yeah, just the hope to kind of like maybe stir some other, is it the lit portion of the sign, or is it actually the dimensions? Or is it, the display? I'm just trying to, what part of that can we, is there a way
Okay.
we can modify that to come within acceptable limits?
Okay, well, I would, with the board, I think, if that were a window, then you would be trying to fill 25% of that. And I understand that it's not in a window and you're not doing that. That might have been a possibility on those indoors, but, again, to keep people out, we did review the building, so we know that there's frosted doors so that people don't try and enter in, because it's really meant only for the teller. It's probably smart that you didn't build the recess, because it gives us a little flexibility here. But it's mostly its location. I would be willing to do it. The fact that it's not a television screen changing sign. But I might want to shrink a little bit, and I definitely want to put some time limits on it. So we'd want it to turn off pretty early, just so it's not on at 11 at night when the last trains are coming through. I just don't think that that's necessary. But as you said, it's minimal visibility from the parking lot on the other side because of the topography. That parking lot on your side is significantly higher. But see, given the additional info, what do the other board members think? I mean, our risk is that someone else will come in with one of these.
Yeah, if I can jump back in, Mark, and I appreciate the presentation, everybody. I think I understand your goals here, but I'm very concerned, and I'm Scott had asked, what are some of the issues, and for me, it's just the thing itself. It's the location, the size, and the advertising. I think it's the advertising part of it that has me most concerned. Yes, I understand it's facing inward, but I think as a board, we have to think longer term and other applicants. And I would be very concerned about setting a precedent with this one. Someone could come to us and want to put the exact same size, shape, and thing outward facing. So I'm opposed to it as is right now.
Right, Steve or Susan?
Steve, do you want to go?
I guess I don't object as strongly. I do have my questions, I guess, because of the location, but I also absolutely see Bob's point. It's kind of a slippery slope if we approve this. So I guess I would be hesitant at this time, and I'd go with the board's decision.
Okay, Susan, any additional comments?
Yeah, my comments are similar. I think in the examples that were shown, a lot of these things were framed out. One had a beautiful arched window, and this is just a box really with a glass on it. And when we approve signs, we actually know what they look like and they're permanent. And this is sort of changing all the time. The only of the things you showed that were going to go in it, the only thing I actually liked would have been the holiday message. But that could change all the time and anything could go in there.
Okay,
And so I have to say, along with everything everyone else said, I'm not for it.
okay. All right, so I think the board has kind of reached a consensus on this, so I would take a motion not to approve the advertising panel sign on the ATM built structure.
So moved.
Second,
All right, then we come to the vote. Bob?
I'm voting to not approve.
Right, that's the motion, so.
Yep. Okay. Just want to be clear.
Steve,
Not approve.
Susan?
No, is that yes or no? It's
A yes to the motion, yeah. you can
yes to
vote
the motion. Yes, sorry.
I'm a yes.
And the chair is a yes, all right. Well, thanks for, I appreciate you guys working with us on this, but I think it's just a step too far for us at this point.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah,
Thank you for all your answering our questions and working.
Thanks very much.
Yep.
Very good. Thank you.
Right now.
Okay, the next item is 1203 Highland Avenue, Dunkin' Donuts. They're putting in a new signage and removing the awning. They have an architectural feature piece that they want to install as well. So are they here? There he is. Okay, why don't you go ahead?
I'm here. Thank you so much, Mr. Chair.
Good.
Thank you, everybody, for hearing us tonight, or us, I guess, me right now. We are basically looking to rebrand. We are rebranding the location. I'm sure everybody in the Northeast and Massachusetts kind of has heard that Dunkin' Donuts is now changing to Dunkin', has been for probably about 5 years now. So we're kind of in the middle of a national rebrand. So with the remodel that's going to be going on inside, we're also looking to rebrand the signage and a little bit to the storefront on the exterior of the building. So basically with the current image, what we're trying to do with the storefront is bring in some of the elements of what's considered the next gen image, the new Dunkin' image. With that is what's existing now is really kind of followed the old image. So it doesn't seem as if it was too restrictive to what they were trying to do with the old Fresh Brew image, the orange fabric awning, and what they considered a cloud sign, kind of single cabinets with a white outline around them. That was pretty standard with the old image. The new image is the individual channel letters, and really depending on the facade color in the background, they like to put them on the white backer panel that we're proposing here. And then the orange banding that you see there is really the I-beam banding. I don't know if you've seen a lot of over the drive-through, some of the entrances, they have the architectural banding, which kind of has an I-beam detail to it. And then the tie-back cables. Obviously, there was no room here to put, because of the tiebacks, there was no room to put an architectural canopy there and still leave room for signage over the storefront. So we use some of, if it's not the architectural banding, which is really meant to protect and create some lighting on the building themselves, they have that same I-beam detail that is just really banding on the building itself. So that's kind of what we're proposing to put there is the banding over the top of the storefront, remove that awning, remove the sign, put the orange banding over the storefront, and then the channel letters on that white backer panel over the front above the I-beam banding.
Okay, thanks. This is really similar to what we just saw at Trader Joe's with this flat white panel and then internally illuminated individual letters on it.
Yeah.
All right. So, and then the metal decorative band is just a steel channel, but it's set out, it's only a couple inches proud of the building wall.
Yeah, actually, Mr. Chair, I could probably help a little bit illustrate that. Just some samples that I keep in my car, I thought might be helpful here. So this is basically, it's an extrusion that we had made. We had a die developed, engineered. It's an extrusion that we've made. We're one of the 3 companies approved to make this, manufacture this for Dunkin' throughout the world, really. So this is the extrusion as it sits on the building. You know, you're seeing that I-beam in the front. Obviously, it's much closer here on the screen, but that's kind of the side detail. And then to kind of clean up the sides of it, we have, I guess, a little, we build the extrusion, we make a little end cap piece. So it cleans it up so it's not open. So it really still gives it that I-beam detail on the side. So
Okay.
really just kind of closes it up. It's just a little element to kind of close off the sides of that beam. In some of the stores, they put lighting in that back channel. Here, that kind of wall washes up or down. So that end piece really kind of closes that off. If there is lighting in there, it just really cleans it up so you're not seeing it from the side view.
Okay, you're not proposing lighting here, I don't see.
We are not. No, we're not.
Okay. All right, so why don't we see what the board's questions are? Steve?
The first question, or the question I really have, next door is another sign. I think it's in shape.
Yep.
Height of the Duncan sign, the same height. Because in the picture where you put in the Duncan, I cannot see, the signs next to it. But are they proportionally the same height?
Steve, that's a good question. Yeah, the in shape probably is, well, it is bigger. I would say I'm on Google right now, just looking at it, and it goes from the top of the awning, looks like it's wedged all the way up to the soffit.
I'm talking about the sign itself, though. The actual sign, is it higher or the same height as the in shape sign? I'm just talking about the signage right now.
Yeah, no, so am I. So the box of that sign
Yeah.
touches the top of the awning and the bottom of the soffit. So it fills that space completely. We were not proposing it that way. We were trying to leave a little bit of space so it wasn't crammed in there as much. That area there above the window, just kind of going back to some of my survey notes, you're looking at about 34 inches. Once you take that on, the awnings that are there now drop down below the window line. You wouldn't know that unless you took the awning down or kind of got up and looked up in there, but they drop below that window line. So in order to do the banding, you kind of need it above the windows. So it kind of raises everything up a little bit, really opens up the windows a little bit more. But basically the area we have to work with is that 34 inches. So the I-beam detail is 9.5 inches in height. And then we've got, I think it's for the sign itself, 21 inches for the panel itself. So the 21 and the 10, so we're using about, 31 out of, 34.5 inches of fascia above those windows.
I'm sorry, maybe I'm not being clear. You give me more information than I was asking. But if you look at going back, we have the old Dunkin' Donuts sign and the in-shape sign.
Looking at it right now, yep.
Is the new Dunkin' sign the same height?
No,
Is it bigger?
no.
It's not as deep then? Because I'm concerned how the two are going to look next to each other when they're out of scale.
Well, Steve, hold on a second. I don't think in shape is there anymore.
Oh, it's not?
So you look at the double image page. It's going to be page 22 of our package. You'll see that there is no in shape. There's a black awning. That Serenity nail spot came in a while back. Remember, we worked with them because they didn't want a sign on top. So we talked with it, and they had some different things in the windows that they were doing.
Oh,
So I
okay.
think that's the current look.
Okay. Then my question is moot.
Yeah, it's hard when these images are dug up from the internet. They're not always 100%.
Yeah, and I think my photos are even from a year ago. I think was when I was actually out there and surveyed this location, was about a year ago.
Okay.
Bob?
Yes, thanks. So what's going to be the length of the bar, the angle, the orange angle that runs under the sign? Because
That opening is approximately 16 feet wide.
okay, on page 24, it says 10 feet overall length for that.
No, that's the lengths that we sell them. So the standard size, we sell them in 10-foot lengths. Like I
Oh.
said, we use them on different sites. So yeah, that is a 10-foot length that we would sell. So that's why you
Well,
see a
there's-
quantity of 2. So what they'll do is they'll go out there, they'll cut it in the field to fit the window size and put those end caps on.
Mhm.
So they'll basically customize it out of those 2 10-foot lengths in the field.
And so there'll be a joint somewhere?
There'll be a seam in the middle. Yep.
Yeah, okay. And then it's just gonna match the window widths?
Yep.
Great.
Yep.
all right.
It'll probably overhang that 2-inch lip from that end cap. I mean, we could do it either
Oh.
way. I think it adds a little bit of detail to just go past it that little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
As
that's
opposed to
fine.
lining up with it. Exactly.
And by the way, Bill, I love the model. The show
Thank
and tell.
Yeah. Thanks. I ran out to the car and grabbed it right before the meeting
Well, it,
started.
it actually helps. It really does. Nothing beats a 3D image.
For sure. Thank you.
So yeah, I think it's clean, Duncan brand. I get that. I guess the only other thing is is it going to be look jammed in there? And that's my only concern. Other than that, I think it's fine.
Yeah, we're probably talking about a couple of inches of space above to the soffit. And a couple
Yeah.
inches between that and that metal band, which is tightish, but this seems to be the new trend to do these white back panels and then mount the letters on them. Because
and
it
to the
saves
point-
punching holes in the building.
Yeah, well, and to the point of and actually 2 parts to actually both of your points there. With the Trader Joe's, the orange on the red brick, I've tried it. You have to put it on a backer. It's just that you won't see it. You lose it. And it lines up with the brand standard because they like to have that white backer, you know, with the new image with those peaks, the monoliths and the top of them are white and the letters normally go on those on a traditional building. That's that white background with the letters. But especially on brick buildings, you definitely almost have to on a red brick anyway. And then the point of the penetration holes, quite honestly, by putting it on the backer, you're having a lot less penetration holes than if you had individual letters mounted to the brick.
Yeah.
Because all the electric goes
Yeah.
through in one pass through. It's
Yep.
just really the mounting brackets. It's a lot less holes.
Okay. Okay, Susan, any?
No
Comments?
additional comments, no.
Okay. Guess my one question is, and I don't know if you can see this, Bob, if you look at that double-paged image, do you know if that accent band of the darker brick continues over the window, or is it just on the wall sections, the posts, the columns and the wall?
It
looked
does
on
go.
the-
I'm sorry, Mark. It does go the whole width. So
Okay.
that gray line lines
Okay.
up above the windows.
But it looks like that's all I need to know. Okay, so
It's let me look at, yeah, it's interesting because in one image there, it looks like it goes across the Duncan window, but over on the other building or tenant Serenity, it doesn't look like it goes
yeah,
across.
and it may not, but that's.
Yeah, yeah.
I would, we would often try and work a little more closely with that 3-course band, but
Oh, you know what?
this
You
being a
are-
pre-manufactured element, I don't,
No, and I'm sorry to interrupt, Mark. You may be right. Obviously, my designer rendered in the orange band, so it's making me think because I never would have had a picture of it without the awning up there.
yeah,
So
Yeah, 'cause
I wouldn't have known if that was continuous. But looking at the black awning in the tenant space to the right, I mean that's a true image. So that gray detail is not there.
yeah, okay, well, that's actually better because now we don't have to worry about what's
Probably would be.
trying to deal with that. Okay, well, I think it's a comfortable chain. It's a tired awning, so that's nice.
Yeah, and fewer words.
Yeah. Yeah, and the scale is nice. I mean, the 15 inches is large for a small storefront on that part of town, but it's not atypical. And it's also not set right up on the street. So I think that it all works so in a decent way. Any other comments from the board? Okay, so I would. Yeah, the orange band is really a facade change, so So we want to keep the file straight. We'll review that first. So I would take a motion to approve the facade change from removing the awning to installing the orange metal channel decorative band.
So moved as presented, so it matches
as
with the
submitted.
windows. Yeah, yep.
Second, please.
Second,
And we vote Bob Dermody,
Yes,
Steve Dornbush,
yes,
Susan Upton,
Yes,
and the chair approves. And then I would take a motion to approve the sign change as submitted.
so moved.
second,
Okay, and we vote Bob Dermody,
Yes,
Steve Dornbush,
yes.
Susan Upton,
yes.
and the chair approves. Okay. Thanks,
Thank you
Bill.
Thank you so much. And just for peace of mind, I did just go back and look through some survey photos. There is no gray up above those windows.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yep.
it's
Thanks, Bill.
interesting.
Yep.
The rendering.
Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great night.
Okay.
You too.
Bye. Thank you.
And the last item is the minutes of May 22nd, 2023. Bob, Steve, and I were in attendance. Are there any changes or comments on those minutes?
no, they look good to me.
So I'll take a motion to approve the minutes of May 22nd.
So moved.
Second,
And we vote Bob Dermody,
Approve.
Steve Dornbush,
approve.
and the chair approves. Okay, I would take a motion to adjourn.
Oh, I'll make that one too.
And I'll second it.
Thanks.
Okay, Bob,
Yes, affirmative.
Steve,
Yes.
Susan,
Yes,
and the chair is yes. Thanks, everybody.
thank
All
you.
right. Thanks, Elisa.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
And Kristen, if you're listening.
She's there. Yeah.
All right.
She's here.
Oh, she was that number 11 floating in the darkness.
Want to
Yeah, I
say thank
guess
you
so.
to you as well. When's our next meeting? As I always ask at the end of every
26.
meeting.
June
26th.
26th.
All right, I'm out. I cannot make it. I'm at a conference.